learn how to make lefse. Now, I'm going to follow the recipe that my mom made, and she makes the best lefse I've ever had, in my opinion, the best lefse I've ever had. So first, before I do the actual making, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what you need to have. Okay, very important thing is you need to have one of these griddles. One of the griddles that you have to make sure that you don't have grease on the griddle. I only use this griddle for lefse, and notice it's a round one, not one of the long skinny ones. So a round griddle. These are made by Bethany, and that's pretty much what most people who are Scandinavian use for lefse making. Another thing you need to have is you need to have, this is very helpful, it's a round pastry board covered with a pastry cloth. And I've used this a lot. You can see it's kind of faded, and I've got a lot of flour and stuff on it. I'm going to be adding more flour to that, but that's something you need. Now, you don't necessarily have to have a round one, but I have a round one because it does show inches, 10, 12, and 14 inches as your, if you're going to measure how wide your lefse is going to be. The other thing you have to have is a lefse stick or something like this. Lefse sticks have a flat side on one side, and then they have sort of a rounded edge on this side, and they're smooth. And this is what you're going to use when you slide under the lefse to flip it and to put it back. Another thing that I use, and this is my mom always did this, was to have pile of dishcloths, or you can also use newspapers, and then have a dishcloth on top of the newspapers to absorb all of the heat. So when you put the hot lefse on here, it's going to be very, very hot, and so all that heat's going to absorb into here, and it's going to help keep the lefse moist and it doesn't get dried out. So I have my little lefse cozy here. Lefse is beautiful, and goes under here, and then I'll be flipping that up. So I'll leave it just like that. So I'll put our first thing in. Okay, so you have to make sure when you do lefse that you have a very floured surface. So for my pastry cloth, I'm going to have a lot of flour across here. Notice it's covered very, very well covered. And also your lefse stick needs to have flour on that too, because the lefse, because it does have a lot of moisture in it when you're first rolling it out, you have to make sure you have that floured. Also going to flour the rolling pin, okay? So I'm going to put a good bit of flour on that, and that does help it from sticking, okay? So that's one important thing. You have to make sure you do that. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the ingredients. Now again, this is my mom's recipe. I think it's the best one, but we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what I have in this one. Okay, so we'll start with the ingredients. I use rice potatoes. I like to do them the night before and rice them when they're hot, and then I just keep them in a big tub covered overnight, and I don't refrigerate them. I just let them be overnight room temperature, so I think it's easier rather than being really cold, because they might again absorb too much moisture. So this is 3 cups of rice potatoes. They're already, they're room temperature. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add 5 tablespoons of melted butter. Okay, and I'm just going to do it in the order that they are on the recipe that my mom did. She says best to just do them in that order. The next thing is 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. Add that. Okay. 1 tablespoon of sugar. Add that in there. Okay. 1 teaspoon of salt. And then finally 1 cup of flour. Okay. Now, instead of stirring that, set these over here. Instead of stirring it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the ingredients over like this and mix it in this way. Okay. All right. So once I can get this all mixed together, where I have the cream and the butter and the flour and everything all mixed together in here, I'm going to make a little, I guess you could say just a little stack of the potatoes. So I'm going to make it into a little oval. They pack pretty well. Just take a big handful of it like this so I can pack them together. Notice how I have just adding this together like this, and then I'm going to make a nice little mold. Again, some people don't do this. This is just the way my mom always did it. So that's why I do it. This all together. Takes just a second. Okay, now this little pile right here, this little 3 cups, is going to make roughly 10 lefses. Okay, all right, so you can see how I've got this all into sort of a nice little ball now. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this. So I'll cut it in half like this. And again, these are not all going to be exact. Some might be just a little bit bigger than others. Some might be a little smaller, but I'm going to cut them so I can get at least 10 out of here. So those 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 10. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take one of these middle ones so we can get plenty of dough. Okay, and like I mentioned before, you have to have a lot of flour with this, so I'm going to take just a small little, take one of my little sections here, make it into a nice little round pad, and then I'm going to add flour to either side. Okay, so once you've got it on the Lefse pastry cloth, I'm just going to roll this out. Again, I go from the middle this way, and try to get it as round as you can. It doesn't necessarily have to be round. I'll get it about like that. So it's not perfect, but you know, doesn't matter. We're going to eat it anyway. Okay, then make sure the stick is good and floured again. And I'm going to go underneath with my Lefse stick just to make sure nothing is sticking. Okay? All right, next thing is you're going to pick the Lefse up with the Lefse stick, and then you're going to put it on the griddle and roll it onto the griddle. It just goes quickly. So you have to move it sort of quickly when you do it, because otherwise it could possibly break. Okay, so here we go. And that worked nicely. Now once you get it on the griddle, what you're going to do is watch it to see when you see the little bubbles kind of popping up here. Then you're going to be turning it real soon. So I'm just going to let a few of these bubbles kind of pop up. You can see it steaming a little bit. Okay. This griddle is very, very hot. Make sure you don't ever touch it. Very, very, very hot. Okay, starting to see some of the bubbles pop up here and there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and slide underneath, like so. And then I'm going to flip it to the other side. Okay. I think I probably could have let it go a little bit longer. I think that's okay. You can see a few brown spots right here. Some people like to get really dark spots on there, but it's, you know, it's just kind of your own, you know, preference and what you have, just so it's done on either side. Once you see it kind of puffing up, then you've got it. So we're going to let this one cook just a teeny bit longer, just to make sure. You can see quite a few of these little bumps coming up. Once we get the Lefse off, we're going to be bringing it over here to the Lefse cozy, and then we're going to cover it up. All right. Now, it looks like we've got quite a few little bumps, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off. So, once you get it, your Lefse stick underneath, pick it up quickly, and then just roll it onto your Lefse cozy. All right, so now, once you get your next Lefse on top of this one, you just keep piling them on top. So you have several, you basically have a stack, and this is probably going to give me about 30 to 40 Lefse with the recipe that I have. And each time you get done putting one down, you want to put these dish towels on top, again, to keep the warmth in and to keep the moisture in. And that's basically all you do when you make Lefse. Again, this is my mom's recipe, and there may be a lot of variations on this, but this has always been a family favorite. It's a tradition in our house, and I've made it a tradition now in my house. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you the next time.